It began in the summer of 1977, inside a modest council house at 284 Green Street, Enfield, North London. The Hodgson family, single mother Peggy and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, lived a quiet, working-class life. But their fragile peace cracked one August night when strange noises echoed through the walls. At first it was dismissed as creaking wood or restless children, but soon the knocks came in clear patterns, answering back like an intelligent hand inside the walls. Neighbors would later swear that house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. What started as whispers in the dark was about to become one of the most terrifying hauntings in history. The earliest disturbances were deceptively small, as if the entity was testing its ground. Beds trembled lightly while the children slept, drawers slid open on their own, and a heavy chest of drawers in Janet's room scraped forward as if shoved by invisible hands. Peggy pushed it back, only to see it slide forward again, resisting her with a force no child could muster. On another night, journalists from the Daily Mirror arrived to see the chaos themselves. They brought cameras, expecting hoaxes, but instead captured a chair shaking violently without human touch. The incidents grew bolder. Janet herself reported being pulled out of bed, sometimes thrown across the room, and on one occasion photographed mid-air, as though something had lifted her with cruel intent. Soon, the quiet disturbances exploded into open terror. Toys were hurled across rooms with murderous speed. The children's beds thrashed like storm waves. Even the family dog barked at empty corners, teeth bared at something unseen. But the most chilling twist came when a voice began to speak. It wasn't the voice of a child. It was guttural, harsh, and belonged to no throat in that house. Through Janet's mouth, it rasped words she herself could not have known, claiming names, mocking prayers, and growling warnings. "I'm not Janet," it sneered, in a tone so deep it shredded the nerves of everyone present. Sometimes it sang snatches of songs, other times it cursed. To investigators, the voice shifted as though several personalities fought for control. One angry, another mocking, and another feigning innocence. The entity had evolved from unseen force into a mind that could interact, deceive, and torment. What made the Enfield case so unshakable was not just the family's testimony, but the multitude of outsiders who saw the horror with their own eyes. Neighbors gathered outside at night, listening to crashes, screams, and inhuman laughter that spilled into the street. Police constables arrived one evening, only to watch a chair slide unaided across the floor. A female officer swore in her report that no one had touched it. Soon, the Society for Psychical Research dispatched investigators Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair. They lived with the Hodgsons for months, filling tape recorders with over 2,000 hours of audio, capturing voices, bangs, and even the chilling rasp of Janet's possession. Journalists, priests, and curious visitors rotated through the house, skeptical at first, but shaken when objects moved before their eyes or when Janet spoke in a growl that no 12-year-old girl should be able to produce. The haunting dragged on for over a year, breaking the family's health and sanity. At times, the activity slowed, especially after clergy blessed the home, but it always returned, louder and more violent. By 1979, the disturbances finally dwindled. Janet recalled the voice declaring, "You're going tomorrow," before fading into silence. For the Hodgsons, the nightmare was over, but the scars remained. Janet grew into adulthood, insisting that while a few pranks were staged to relieve boredom, the majority of the horrors were real, and far beyond what children could fake. The case became infamous worldwide, fueling documentaries, books, and eventually the Hollywood film The Conjuring 2. Yet even with media sensationalism, the heart of the haunting remained unshakably documented. Multiple witnesses, recordings, and photographs stood as proof that something had truly taken hold of 284 Green Street. When we sift through the facts, the Enfield haunting reveals disturbing patterns that point beyond ordinary ghosts. The voice was not random. It was intelligent, mocking, and often blasphemous, directly targeting the family's faith and sanity. Objects were not just moving, but launched with violent force, a classic hallmark of poltergeist activity. Most chilling of all was its fixation on Janet, whose body became its mouthpiece. The entity oppressed her relentlessly, levitations, violent thrashings, and long episodes of possession. So that was the nightmare of the Enfield Poltergeist, one of the most documented hauntings in the modern world. A case where neighbors, police officers, journalists, and even scientists were forced to admit that something truly unnatural stalked a simple London home. Whether you believe it was the restless dead or a demonic force feeding on fear, one thing is certain: the Hodgsons were not alone in that house. But here's the real question. If such evil could manifest in a quiet family home in London, what stops it from appearing anywhere? Even in the room you're sitting in right now. If you felt the chills tonight, make sure you hit that like button. And for more terrifying true hauntings backed by real evidence, subscribe and ring the bell, because I'll be back soon with another case that might just keep you awake tonight. And tell me in the comments below, do you think the Enfield haunting was a clever hoax? Or do you believe, like many of the witnesses did, that it was the work of something truly demonic?